Hello and welcome to Coding with Jess, where you code along with me while I build a thing. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks since we've been working on DXOS, but we're going to continue working on some DXOS apps today. So thanks for hanging out. This is your first time on Coding with Jess. What this is going to look like is I'm going to just work out loud for the next 2 hours. So I'm going to share my desktop, be coding on some stuff. I'm going to set Pomodoros, and for every 25 minutes, I'm going to take a 5-minute break. So it's not going to be 2 hours continuous, but 25, 5 minutes, 25, 5 minutes, 25 times 4 plus 5-minute breaks. That's 2 hours. So we'll wrap this sucker up right around 2 a.m. Eastern. Let's talk about what we're going to work on today. Let's see. Oh yeah, one other thing to note is if you want to chat with me while I'm coding, I do try to keep an eye on the chat in YouTube, and so if you wanted to say hi or tune in, I will try to respond to that or respond to any questions you might have. I've had some very helpful chat participants in past sessions as well. All right, so today, let's go ahead and close all of that, I think. Goodness. Didn't clean up my desktop before I started streaming. Here we go. All right. So today what we're going to work on is a simple DXOS demo that I've been building that shows off one of my favorite things about DXOS, and that is the app interoperability. So I really love how the different apps within DXOS can access the same data substrate at the same time. And that allows you to build these apps that are interoperable because they're basically writing directly to the data store and reading directly from the data store. And they're pretty simple to build. So the first one that I built was a Kanban to-do list. So I'll show a quick demo of that, like what this looks like. You can see a to-do list app on the left over here. And these are two different apps. These are actually running on entirely different domains. And so you can add things to the to-do items on the left, and those get added over here in the Kanban board on the right. I actually use something like this already with my markdown file, and I have like my own little Kanban board that interprets my markdown file. Sorry, I'm seeing an error from YouTube Studio about things. Hopefully video looks good. It's telling me that I'm not sending my keyframe frequency often enough. So, well, let's just hope it works. We'll roll with it today. If it doesn't, so be it. But yeah, if there's any problem with the video, feel free to let me know in the chat. So I've got this, I have my own Kanban app. I'm going to show you on, let's see. Boop. Bring it over here. There we go. I have this thing that I built called kanban.md, or struggling with a name for it. Actually, trying to remember what I named it. To-do.kanban, I guess. So anyway, what this allows me to do is I can open a markdown file as a Kanban, and then I can edit, modify the Kanban by dragging things back and forth. And that actually two-way sync modifies the markdown file. And for me, that's super useful because I plan in a markdown file at the beginning of each week, making this like this week to-do list that sits in my markdown file. But it's really nice to be able to visualize it as like a board of tasks throughout the week. I had been using this thing for probably, I guess it's been about 6 months now, and it's been useful, but DXOS allows me to upgrade this. Basically, I can not only interact with files, but I can actually make specific views like a to-do list. So one example here would be, let's go to to-do let me see, I think it's dxos-to-do.netlify.app. Nope. DXOS task. No. Tasks. I'm just going to sit here and guess URLs all day. How about that? No. Awesome. All right, great. Sweet. So that's working. We've been seeing some errors in the console recently, so I'm just like making sure that this thing's actually going. Right. All right, so sweet. We are now in our app. You can see that I've got 2 different participants in the application. I can check off things. And then just a real quick demo of the other thing. I've got a DXOS Kanban.netlify.app. Notice entirely different app, entirely different domain. And that is reading from the thing on the left over here. And the nice thing about this, I've got some bugs in it, and that's actually some of the stuff I want to work on today. But I can add a to-do over here on the left, some to-do, and it goes to the right place. I can't drag and drop yet, so maybe we'll add that today, but I can check it off over here, which then moves it to the done column. Now, the things to note here is that both of these are writing to the same local data store, but then are being synchronized across clients. So something that is a little bit more difficult to show, and I didn't set up to show on the live stream, would be showing that this actually syncs across devices as well. Actually, I think I have it running on this laptop. I'll bring that in next time to kind of show off the multi-device sync. But what happens is behind the scenes, we have this data substrate that synchronizes across devices. It uses CRDTs to keep those devices in sync. And then on each individual device, like on this device in front of us, it is actually running, oh, doggone it. On this device in front of us, it's running a single copy of this data substrate in this Chrome browser. And so these are both accessing that same local data store. The data is stored in IndexedDB. And so these little apps are super lightweight. We'll be looking at the code for these today. And and they render their views reactively from the data store. All right, so there's a little quick demo of like what I'm working on right now, and let's go ahead and start with making a to-do list of stuff to work on. So one of the things we need to do is upgrade to 0.1.53. So we released this release yesterday. That's going to hopefully fix some of the bugs that we're having and add some additional features. So let's upgrade to 0.1.53. The Kanban app currently doesn't support has some breakages around renaming to-dos, and this is because I basically did it the wrong way in React. Whoa, what just happened? Wild. I am not sure what just happened there. Huh. Yeah, so we had some new to-dos synchronize in here. I think it's possible that this device was catching up with changes that are happening on another device that's currently connected. And then when they caught up and recalculated the state, all those things jumped in. That's my best guess. Although they seem to be out of sync now as well. All right, well, let's upgrade to 0.1.53 and see if we can fix some of these strange bugs that we're seeing. Let's see. All right, and then Kanban has fix to do or editing to-dos in the Kanban. And then the next thing would be, oh yeah, support drag and drop in the Kanban would be really nice. That probably will take our whole time, but I'll just add one additional thing that add arbitrary columns to Kanban. I think this is one of the coolest things because it shows off the way that the schemas for these two data types of like to-dos can actually be different from one another, which is pretty cool. Alrighty, bring this back over here to OBS. So make sure I'm looking at my levels. Looks like we are good there. All right, cool. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Let me start the first Pomodoro, which I've actually, here we go. Start tomato and let's go. All right, so upgrades. So we've got two different repos here, a DXOS Kanban and DXOS task. We'll just need to go over, open both of these up. We're gonna go to the package.json file and replace the 0.151 with 0.151 with 0.153. We synchronize all of our package changes, so all those packages should exist. So let me see, I made that change in Kanban. So let's go here and do an npm install. And actually, am I doing a pnpm install in this case? Yes, I have a pnpm lock here. So pnpm install, pnpm install. Let's go ahead and reload this space to get the latest extensions. All right, closing DXOS Kanban. Let's come over here and open DXOS tasks. Same change over here. Package JSON. 0151 0153. Make all the changes, save it. All right. Looks like PNPM script is succeeding. Great, it's done. So then PMPMI over here, I guess based on the way PMPM works, this should be actually pretty fast. And it looks like it's going. Awesome. All right. Well then, PMPM serve here should start the Kanban app, and let's see if it's actually working. Boom. All right, here's Kanban working on localhost. Now you'll notice, yeah, this is my error that we're going to fix today. Each child in a list should have a unique key prop. That's my bug with the way I'm using React. I'm not seeing any other bugs here other than this well-known DX config, so that looks good to me. You'll also notice that, actually, let's go ahead and close all of these and make sure I don't have any additional windows open. Oops. Great. Okay, cool. I do not. All right, let's bring that. Now, the reason I just did that is because the shared worker runs once per Chrome profile. And if I have, anytime there's any DXOS app open as a tab, that Chrome profile is running the shared worker. And in order to restart, to like re-trigger the shared worker, I need to close all of my apps. Now, it probably won't matter because prod is currently running. Yeah, this is interesting. Yeah, I have some questions now about the shared worker idea that I should note. Actually, I'm gonna go take a note real quick. What happens with the shared worker on halo.dxos.org when the client code is running a different version? Something to ask the team about because I don't fully understand that piece. Yeah, I guess the shared worker probably gets packaged up and just runs at that domain, but I'm not sure. All right, so then let's see. We have done the update to the Kanban app. Let's go ahead and run it and make sure that it works. We should see all the same tasks that we saw before. There they are, all right. And then, which it took just a second for them to pop in, which was kind of surprising. Yeah, key prop, yes, I understand. I definitely have some bugs in my React code that we're gonna need to fix today. Let's go check out our to-do app. Go Ninja go, all right. Similarly, we'll bring up the console. Great. All right, my to-do app is a little bit better off than the other one. Let's make some edits here. Actually, cool. We're seeing sync across the two. Things look good. Gonna add a bunch of to-dos. Oh, interesting. I can't edit unless there's something to click on. So we might want to change that, fix that about to-do items. 2 items with no content cannot be edited. Don't allow to-do items to be created when the input is blank. All right, some little tweaks, some quality of life tweaks we can make about this to-do list here. All right, so this is looking, okay, so I think we have got the upgrade running. Looks reasonable to me. So what I think I'm going to go ahead and do is, in both of these cases, the kanban and the tasks, let's go ahead and check in those changes. Just package lock and PMPM, yep. Upgrade to 0153 and upgrade to 0153. Cool. With those two git pushes, that should update the code on Netlify, and so we can test that in production later. All right, done. Upgraded to 0153. So let's fix editing to-dos in the Kanban. This is going to expose my relative lack of knowledge in coding React applications. So we've got DXOS tasks. I'm going to go ahead and close that repo and then bring up DXOS Kanban. Yes, I do not particularly enjoy coding in React, but it is probably the most used front-end framework. So we're building a React app kit for DXOS here. I definitely could do some refactoring here to move some of these components out of Kanban. So we've got just a reminder of what the UI looks like, and I'll go ahead and close tasks for now since we're focused on Kanban. We've got these three different lists, and each list has a to-do item in it. So the list could be, at the very least, their list could be its own component, but right now I'm just duplicating the HTML or the the JSX, I should say. I'm duplicating that 3 times, and there's definitely a better way to do that. So we might do that, but the most obvious thing here is that the way that when we list out to-do items, which is, let's see, where are they? There's a lane, there's an H1, and then here's the to-dos that we're mapping over. Excuse me. As we're listing out these to-dos, we need to have set a unique index for each one. And I think I'm setting it in like a super naive way. Yeah, the error says unique key prop. That's right, the key property. And wow, I don't even have a key property. Well, that'll do it. Okay, so I believe this is our div here. The problem with this, I swear I had this. Maybe I have it on one of the other lists. Again, this is where I have now gotten to the point where I need to refactor these guys. Editing task triple equals index. Oh, that's right. I'm checking the index to decide whether it's the edited task or not. And then I'm using the edited task variable. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, I'm definitely not providing these unique key indexes. This might be enough to satisfy React and stop complaining about this uniqueness thing, but it will not be enough to fix the problem we have with editing that I just mentioned. Maximum update depth exceeded when a component calls set state inside use effect, but use effect either doesn't have a dependency array. Ah, no, I do have a dependency array. Ah, ha, ha, ha. Yes, so I'm changing the dependency array. Interesting. Okay, so inside use effect, this is the way that we're doing initialization of the component, and the use effect here is basically, so we should think about the component as initializing from the top down. So we initialize this class or this functional state component, whatever, called Kanban, and then we execute the code from the top to the bottom. So use identity gets executed. These things set up some use state, like some local state that we can then go and change. And then this use effect actually basically sets up a callback that will get executed every time something specific changes. In this case, we have to-dos here that can get updated. I don't see how use effect is doing the update here. Yeah, to-dos is not changing inside these. So what we're doing is we are getting all of the to-dos from the use query here. And when we get all of those to-dos from use query, it's like all of the active to-dos, the doing to-dos, and the completed to-dos are all crammed together. We can actually look at the to-do, or I think it's called task proto, schema proto. Here we go. A to-do item has three attributes. It has a title, it has a Boolean whether it is completed or not, and it has a string, which is the status. The to-do list uses the completed flag to say whether something is done or not. And that way the to-do list has basically two states. But the Kanban has a more flexible idea of done, which is this status string. So you can have many possible states: to do, doing, done, in review, blocked, all of the things you could think of, icebox, next, all the states that tend to come up when you enable some kind of Kanban type thing. So in the case of the Kanban, when we get all of the to-dos from Echo using this use query, they're all in one giant list called to-dos. And then we have to sort those to-dos into whether they're active, completed, or doing. And so we do that here with 15, 16, and 17. And then we continually resort them into completed, active, and doing every time the to-dos, any of the objects inside to-dos change. And so I don't understand why it's like repeatedly calling, because all we're doing here is doing a filter on to-dos. And then based on this variable, we are, or based on this Boolean condition, we're then sorting it into the right place. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Interesting. Now I have some questions around the way that React handles. I mean, this thing is working though. Hey, you know what? Look at that. So we had those initial, okay, let's refresh. Really weird problem. We had those initial to-dos load, and then a few minutes later we had more load. That was the behavior we saw before. Here we go. Here's the initial ones. And then a few minutes later we had, so sad, the to-do load. So what it must be doing, okay, I have an idea of what's going on here. It's the feed is taking a while to calculate, and so we would need to actually do an epoch here, which we can do. I could fire one off. Interesting. Okay, so because these are running in localhost, this is the part of DXOS that breaks my brain sometimes. Okay, so the localhost to-do list app is writing to my IndexedDB in a profile that is associated with my local. Okay, well, let's try this. Let's confirm. Are these a different set of to-dos than if I go to DXOS tasks? They should be, I think, because this is production, this is local host. No, they're the same. Refresh. Okay, so that was just prompting me to upgrade to 0151. Okay. Oh, of course. Okay, sorry. My brain had to catch up with my fingers here. So the issue here is that the Echo instance is running inside this profile, this Chrome profile, once, with a specific identity that is running inside this Chrome profile. And it's still running, both of these are running against halo.dxos.org, which is what we tie the vault to. Okay, cool. Nice. Interesting. Okay. So then whether we're in localhost or looking at production code or even like our staging servers, the Chrome profile and the identity associated with that are the things that determine what data store you're accessing. All right. So actually I'm gonna go ahead and turn my air conditioner on because guys, it is friggin' hot in here. And sorry for the background noise that may or may not create. Hopefully the noise suppression on OBS is sufficient. Okay. So we have fixed the problem with the keys by using index here. So then you have inside each one of these components, it's not complaining. We do have this weird problem that we saw a second ago that I don't see now, where new stuff is loading surprisingly from, is loading in. Yeah, I'm not seeing those load. So let's go look at our feeds. We can find out the length of the feed. Yeah, it just has 228 items. It should not be that big a deal. I'm looking through these to see if any of them say "so sad," which was the name of the one that we saw pop in. No, everything looks good. All right, well, not sure where those, if those come back again, we should definitely come in and inspect. It could be that they were, yeah, I don't know. Strange problem. Okay, then the other problem that we're seeing right now is this use effect is getting triggered such that we get to a like recursive set of calls here, such that every time you do a set on completed active and doing, it updates, it calls use effect again, which does not make any sense because these are not changes to the to-do array. These are changes to some other state, these three things. I'm going to refresh again and see if we see 110 of those again, or we see a different number. So there's the maximum update depth error, 107 that time. One of the dependencies, change on render. I'm going to copy that into, let's see what ChatGPT thinks about that problem. Let's see, log in, how do, to you and you and you. All right, the error message you're seeing typically occurs in an infinite loop. Yes, I am aware, thanks. But my set, reviewing your code and adjusting the dependencies. All right, let me pass in my code. Whoops, I need that use query. Code you provided seems to use React query to fetch data and manage the state of different to-dos. Problem could potentially occur if the to-dos query results changes on every render. Separate variables, that's what I'm doing. Destructure the data property from the query result. Yeah, that's not. Yeah, but the problem is we need to reassign them. To-dos object changes, we need to sort them into different lists. Completed, doing, active. Whenever a to-do is added, edited, removed, etc. So this is exactly the code that we have. Thanks. Yeah, I think there might be some weird interaction between use query and use state and use effect. And so what I think I'm going to do is hold off on trying to fix this particular one, because it does seem to go away and then things work after that. So if I come in here now, add a thing, that works fine. I can do localhost 5174 and bring up the tasks view into that data. I can uncheck it and it moves back and forth just fine. All right, so I'm going to make a note to myself to ask about the infinite recursion happening in use effect. It seems like there is some interaction between use effect, use state, and use query. All right. Zhenya can help me with that since he's like an expert at the React stuff. But our goal here is to fix editing to-dos in the kanban. And so the reason that that is broken is unrelated to this error that we'll figure out how to fix later. It's the fact that each of these columns has an index of the order or the number in which the column in which the to-do occurs. There it is. Okay. What the heck? So the SOSADs are back. What in the world? Awesome. This is the day of discovering endless, like, I'm trying to work on one thing and another thing happens. All right, so we can run DevTools locally. We should be able to interrogate the space. The items array shows everything, all of the items that are in this particular space. So data is subdivided according to these different spaces. I'm curious whether it says either one of these are online. It does not. And so this should be the list of all the to-do items that are in the space. There are no, wait, there is another space, but oh, I wonder if there's some weird cross-space selection stuff happening here. So maybe that's what's happening. Maybe it's snapping between spaces. That could explain it. All right, so then if that's the case, then we should see, I'm gonna like scroll through these real quick, and we should see nothing in a title that says so sad. And then if we bounce over to this other space, we should see another one that says, we should see one that says so sad. All right, none of those titles say so sad. So then back over here in this other space, here's some Jess Martin DXOS. I'm gonna sort by type. Oh, I can't sort by type. Oh, tomatoes ended. All right, so we'll take a 5-minute break here in a second. Let's confirm our questions about this. This is the best thing over. Yep, that's the problem. So somehow it's bouncing over to this other space and showing that. This is part of the problem with the way that I'm initializing the code here, in the sense that when I do use identity and then use spaces, not ordered consistently. And the weird thing that seemed to trigger it just now was opening the to-do app. So let's close the to-do app. Let's see if we can recreate this, because it would be really helpful to the team potentially. No, now we're looking at so sad. Actually, I need to close the DevTools because it holds on to that holds on to that shared worker like we were talking about. So localhost 5173, shared worker should be off. Testing you and me. All right, now if I bring up localhost 5174, that's running the tasks app. Yeah, somehow we like magically switched feeds or streams. Sorry, spaces, which have streams. That's so weird. I wonder what triggered that. But we know the ultimate problem here is that this use spaces is I'm depending on the ordering of the spaces that are being returned from this to like destructure and take the first one. And yeah, they can't depend on that. So we're gonna have to fix that error as well. All right, we are at our 5-minute break time, so I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then I will be back to continue fixing bugs in our Kanban app. See you guys shortly. All right, hello and welcome back to Coding with Jess, where you code along with me while I build a thing. We're just finished up our first Pomodoro of 25 minutes of working on a DXOS app, and we're gonna jump right back in for 25 more minutes and see what kind of progress we can make. All right, so Pomodoro is started. We have updated, let's see, let's jump back to our to-do list, right? We updated to 0153. We encountered some weird bugs, and there, hey, look, it clicked over to the other space. What a strange bug. All right, so we know that loading spaces via use space. I'm just making notes to there's some things I'm gonna have to follow up with after this call, so it's helpful, or after this live streaming session, it's helpful to kind of go through and make notes so that I can revisit them at the end of the day. By the way, this is a good thing you should do while you're working. It's not everything you can deal with right now, and if you pull every thread as soon as you see that it is loose, you will never complete the thing that you actually want to do. So loading spaces via use space is not consistently ordered. Also seeing the order change mysteriously such that the state, the space changes while the app is in use. Crazy. Okay, so we're going to figure out how to work around that. I'm not going to mess with that problem later. That's a larger problem. I guess that's why we're going to try and fix editing to-dos in the kanban. Fix the thing that we set out to fix. So again, as I was saying, the problem with editing to-dos in the kanban is that the way that I am saying that something is editable is I'm using the index in the column as a referent to this thing is editable. That's probably not a great way to do it. What we could do, this is a pretty jank solution, but would probably work, is, see, this is editing task. Only one, I guess we're saying only one task should be editable at any one time, or we could make it an array. That's interesting. Let's go look at Trello real quick and see how it handles this. Trello, it makes me sad how complicated Trello's gotten over the years. It was so good for so long. All right. Not that it's not still nifty, but it's not nearly what it was. Let me see here. Do I have any boards in here that I can use? Yeah, cool. This is my sort of test board. What's with the super rounded corners? When do they do that mess? All right, so I can edit this one. Ah, yeah, they have edit one at a time. Not that it really matters, but I think that makes sense. You're not going to have multiples that you're setting up to edit. You can always copy paste between them because it's just text titles. All right. So we'll do editing once, one at a time. If we're editing one at a time, then what we're going to do here is the task that is currently being edited. I thought of one way to do it, but that would not work. This is ephemeral state because we don't actually want to change the show the edit status across multiple things. So we don't need to store it in echo. It's ephemeral to this particular, to this local client that's working. Tasks currently we stored here. Some of the ways that I was thinking about doing it is so that we could do potential structure. Could be to do at one would be as a string. That would indicate that in the to-do column, the one element, 0 ordered, is the one that is currently being edited. But the problem with that would be, what if I reordered them while this one is being edited? So you could imagine this is in an edit state. What if I drag and drop one of these done items over here on to do, which changes the index? And so, yeah, we don't want to have to reassign the index. The ideal thing here is that each of these tasks actually has a unique ID associated with it. So that's going to require us to change our schema. And I guess that's fine. So we could do that. The way to do that would be come in here, string UUID equals 4. This equals 1 equals 2 equals 3 equals 4. That's a just a convention, not a convention. It's the way protobuf works, and we're going to work around that particular thing. Right now, we're just providing like this raw protobuf format here. Protobuf is designed for serializing data so that it can be sent over the wire, and so this should become eventually a internal. Yeah, we could do this and like add a UUID, and then now the problem we would need to do here is, and this is where schema migration becomes very interesting. So, what if we stored the UUID as ephemeral state? Would that work? So UUID as ephemeral state, since what we're doing with the UUID is storing the editing or not, and we're not doing anything else with the UUID yet. Or we could do UUID as persisted state and stored in echo. Now, I'm sorry, where I was going with that was we could, in Kanban, change the schema here, but let me show you the schema real quick in the to-do list app because it looks a little bit different. Code, open this guy. All right, open schema proto. You'll notice that over here on the right, we do not have a status field. That's because to-dos only need to know whether they're complete or not, and the title of the to-do. There's nothing else that the to-do item needs to know. Now, Kanban items have a little bit more information. In fact, we might add, whole like documents and that kind of stuff that they can refer to. Like we might add like order in list or something like that in order to keep track of additional things, but the tasks doesn't need to know it. Now, if we had, I guess we could have the UUID be something that only, oh, this is the problem, right? If we have a UUID, then we need to generate a UUID every single time a task is created. Tasks can be created over here in the tasks app. And so we would need to make sure that we would have to basically change both apps at the same time. And this is where like schema migration, versioning, all that stuff gets really strange, and you start having to code defensively against a new schema. So let's solve this by ephemeral UUID state, because that's probably the one that's resilient against drag and drop changes. And we will come back to thinking about that. But just to highlight that schema migration problem, it becomes a real problem when you're building apps that have a shared data backend, but have different representations in the front end. And it's kind of an unsolved problem. All right. So how might we do this as ephemeral state? What we're going to need to do is when we initially get the to-dos back, we'll need to assign each one of them a UUID, like a temporary ID. This is going to be interesting because I think it ends up having to be part of the TypeScript type for the thing. Let's go pull that up real quick. So our protobuf schema, which we see here, automatically generates a TypeScript type, where we generate one from our protobuf thing, and then we import that type in our Kanban app here. See that import to do from proto. Now, I wonder what happens when our, okay, so then what we're likely to happen here, so I could add it here in the TypeScript type, and I believe that would not be persisted onto, like that wouldn't change anything about echo because the protobuf is the schema for echo. Ugh. Otherwise, if I don't add it in this TypeScript schema, I can't just add a UUID. I can't just like iterate over to-dos and assign a UUID to each to-do. If I do that, I'll get TypeScript complaining that I don't have that field on there. If I add the field, then it's going to be in the protobuf, or then it's going to be changing the schema. The TypeScript schema file gets overwritten automatically, or gets written automatically from the protobuf file so that the two things match. It should be treated as a generated only file. This is actually a really interesting problem. So this is leading me all the way back to using a referent that could get out of date. And I think that's what we should, so how would it get out of date? We already discussed this. It could get oh no, but the real thing you would want to maintain is if someone else, this is inherently multiplayer, right? If someone else drag and dropped, like another client drag and dropped a to-do in front of you, you would want to maintain the edit state, even though that to-do got dropped in and the index changed. Because what you really don't want to do here is have like multiple clients interfering with each other while they're trying to get work done. So if I'm editing a file or editing a to-do here and someone else drags it over, drags a to-do from done to to-do and drags it above that, I don't want it to cancel my edit state or lose, or like, you know, shift the editing state to a different item. So even this is bad. Like, it is bad in a way that like limits the multiplayer usability of the application and will have unexpected strange side effects. So I think we're back to, we want a UUID for each to-do item. And I don't think that's a bad thing. In fact, I wonder if we get this automatically from Echo. I think we might, my point is, I think we might actually use the UUID on the task item to do other things in the future. And so it's not a bad idea to have, you know, it's kind of like having an auto incrementing index in your, you know, your SQL database. You kind of do that for every row automatically, and it helps you refer to them. Let's see if DevTools reveals that these items already have a unique ID. They do have an ID. Okay. So then, is that ID accessible through the schema? There it is, type string ID. But it's not referred to in the to-do props, but I'm not using to-do props, so, okay. You can't set it in the constructor, that's fine. Hey, this might work. Okay. Close that. So maybe we already have an ID and this was like a way simpler problem than I thought, but hey, guess what? Things in Echo have IDs. Okay, let's try this. To do, or it's a task.id. Oh, zoom, 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 zoom. Let's see. So task.id, and then one more time. And I'm only changing this, like React wasn't complaining about these keys being unique anymore, but now they are truly unique across all the lists, which I don't know if that matters or not for React's purposes, since it wasn't complaining before. But we are going to need to do all of our instances of set editing task. Let's change any instance of set editing task to task.id. Oh, and what's the parameter type here? The set state action number. That's kind of strange. Argument of type string. Oh, okay, yes. Sorry. Up here, this is, we can delete these 3 lines. These are our notes about what we're doing here. So this use state needs to be a string. Rad. Okay. So then editing task is now, oh, right, we need to be checking on task.id here. Actually, let's just grab that and we'll do another define and replace here. Editing task triple equals task.id. All right, see if we got any errors. Nope, we do not. Okay, so this should, hey, we can now edit things in all the places. Oh, interesting that it doesn't, that it constrains the height. I don't like that. I guess the input, that makes sense. It swaps in an input. We'd want to swap in a text area. I'm just going to make a note of that as a future thing. Well, hey, we fixed editing to-dos. And we also TIL that items in Echo already have ID attributes that get assigned when the item is created. Cool. That's pretty awesome. All right. Well, we have definitely accomplished some of our goal here. Let me go ahead and commit the changes we've made so far. Fix editing of to-dos in Kanban. Actually, this is the Kanban app, so I don't need to refer to that. Push that up. That will then get deployed automatically. Nice. Okay, so I definitely want to refactor these, but let's do that later. Let's fix the next thing, which was supporting drag and drop. This is like really going to make this a lot more useful, especially once we add drag and drop and arbitrary columns. Arbitrary columns just got a lot easier to add with that refactor around IDs, and the keys are now unique. So yeah, we'll probably be able to do that pretty quickly. Okay, let's see. All right, support drag and drop and kanban. So I think we're going to want to use D&D kit. I think that's the kind of decided upon de facto thing for React these days. Yep. All right, let's look at some example code real quick before we just drop the library in, and maybe we'll even ask ChatGPT to write some of this code for us. All right. Today I learned, okay, yeah. So D&D kit. How might this look for D&D kit? I bet, you know what, I bet there is a Kanban example. Yep, of course there is. Of course there is. Well then ChatGPT should be pretty good at writing a Kanban example. Let's see. Oh my gosh, why is the... I just want to look at the whole thing in a single... all right, let me just read this. Let's just like page through this article real quick and see if this gives us what we want. Yes, I know, D&D kit, getting started, blah, blah, blah. Install the core, modifiers, restrict. I don't care about that. The core package exports the use draggable hook, which can be used in our React component to make it a draggable component. Okay, so this might be when we actually want to do the refactoring. Refactor down to lists and cards so that we can get our Kanban core card that's draggable and our list item is the droppable. Yep, that probably makes sense. So let's I guess we're doing some refactoring. So let's see. Refactor the Kanban board into list into board list card components. Yep, that should be good. That refactoring actually will make it easier to do our second thing that we were hoping to do, which is adding arbitrary columns. So that's kind of nice. Let's see, anything else here that I think is important to read? Nope. Component takes 3 props, the title of the card, the index of the card in the current lane, and the name of the lane where the current card currently is. Yeah, that makes sense. We already have that in the status attribute. We do not have the index of the card in the current lane, so we'll probably want to add that. Yeah, and that is a change we can make to just the Kanban data schema without having to update the to-do items, which is actually kind of nice. In fact, we could add a separate one in the to-do items. Wow, I wonder what happens the more these schemas diverge, but we can learn about that by kind of building these things out. All right, cool. Let's jump over here and do some refactoring. So we'll start with a quick refactor to board. New file board.tsx, and this is actually going to be everything that's in Kanban pasted in, and then we're going to do some cleanup in here. So our Kanban board is the thing that we're going to export. We will want to build lists based on the number of columns, based on the type of columns that we have in the status attributes of our of our cards. So we don't want to assume what those will be yet. Let's go comment that out because we might need some of that. We'll see. Handle new to do should move into the list. So let me actually make a new file here. We'll make this list.tsx. We have this nice little shortcut here. That's right, called component. Great, and this will be list. Oh, that's interesting. All right, let's try that again. Component tab, wait. There we go. List. There are no list props. Return. Actually, I guess there will probably be list props. The list will take a title, which is a string, and a set of to-dos, which is a to-do array. We'll need to bring in the to-do item from this. And then, yeah, we'll kind of figure it out from there. All right. So I think this handle new to do function is going to go in here. I'm going to comment it out yet. Oops. Oop. All right, cool. So we are at our 25-minute limit. Take a break real quick, and I'll be back in 5 minutes. See you guys in a sec. All right, folks, welcome back to Coding with Jess. And yeah, we're gonna get back to our coding project for the day, working on this DXOS app and seeing if we can get the kanban drag and drop working. And yeah, I'll put another 25 minutes here on the clock, and we have 2 Pomodoro sessions behind us and 2 coming up still. So let's get started. Start tomato. Close that and let's go. All right. So we were in the middle of refactoring this Kanban board into a couple of different components, and we have moved some things into board. Actually, we moved everything into board, and then we're going to move some things out of board into list. And so a list right now looks like this entire block down to that. So we'll have this be part of the return statement. We're going to have to do some work to set up what we're returning here, though, which is fine. Let me get that up there. All right, and then this definitely won't execute because we don't have all of the items in there yet. And then let's take out of the board. Let's delete to here. And we'll just say list. All right, so there's our 3 lists. Now we could go ahead and, let me see. One of the things we could do is just show the list titles. Actually, this would be a good way to like incrementally get this working. I like this. Okay, great. So we'll come over here, source, new file, card.tsx. Let's move a bunch of that. Let's create a component here. Card props is going to be string index, I think, which will be a number. And I think those are the things that matter. We might, I don't know if we'll set the editing thing through here. We'll see. All right, so then that takes me down here, and I can say, all right, over here in list, we're iterating over the to-dos that get passed in, so we can change all the instances of active to-dos to to-dos. There's that. Can't find to-dos. That's getting passed in as list props. I guess we'll have to like destructure the props. To-do const to-dos equals props to-dos. Yeah, not destructure, but just reassign it. Alrighty. So let me take this, which is the content of a to-do, I think. Yeah, because it starts with this map. Awesome. And oops. Yep, up to here. And then let's paste that in here. And then let's find all the instances of task, case sensitive, and replace that with to do. No, actually it doesn't. I don't think it matters. Oh, this is interesting. In this case, I think we may want the tasks or the to do from proto, maybe. And maybe we do actually want the to do props. And we're going to pass them in here. Maybe. And then I'll have to think about how to I don't need to know whether it's completed or not. Wait, why is this complaining? Oh, because it doesn't come through. Interesting. So the ID is not part of the props, which interesting. Okay, cool. We'll have to think about how that's going to work. Let's move that out for now, and we'll work our way down. Well, let's just work with board and list for now, and then we'll bring card in a minute. All right, so board, we just had it spit out 3 lists. Let's import list from list, which we're already doing, but we need to pass into the props the items that list expects. So what does list expect? A string, which is the title of the board and the to-dos that are a part of it. All right, so we're getting the to-dos back here. We need to iterate over, I think we're going to need this use effect, but I'm going to need some state, which is the list, and actually we'll do it this way. Lists, set lists equals use state, and it's actually just going to be a string. Sorry, an array of strings. Yeah, an array of strings. It starts out empty. And then what we'll do is to-dos. We're going to want to map set lists. Yeah, we want to map over status, but we want it to be unique as well. I don't think map returns unique things by default. Yeah, so we may want to try to remember the way that we would reduce that to the set of unique ones. I guess if this were a map instead of an array, sorry, a set instead of an array. Like if this was a set of strings, let's ask ChatGPT real quick in my kanban. App I am at the status field for all of the to-dos items to determine what lists should exist in the kanban. How do I modify this code to make it unique, to make the list of the array of lists unique? All right, let's take this code. Do that. Oops. Sorry, I have to use Command C, not. All right, and then take those commented out things out, and those as well. There we go. To make the array of list names unique, that's exactly what I'm going to do, is use the set data structure. Sweet. So we'll do an array from new set. Oh, interesting. So just wrap the map in that, and then I can leave that as a, that's such a funky workaround there. All right, so then I'll take this and I'll do array from new set. All right, cool. That'll set our lists, and then what we'll do down here is map over the lists, and then hello. Oh, I need another. There we go. Great. And to-dos, yeah, we filter the to-dos by the status. Hey, that might work. We might not need to maintain those different variables. So we're like sending those to the list, and now list has this handle new to-do thing. I can definitely, okay, let's comment that out for now. And comment this out for now. Great. Okay, that on-click is fixed. Wait, to-dos map. All right, we're not going to do that map over the to-dos yet. Actually, we could just say to-do. All right, let's see if, okay, so now the last thing we need to do is swap out the kanban for a board, because we've now changed the component here. Add import for board, remove the kanban import. There we go. Cool. All right, so we have the to-do item. There should be more than that, because we already have things that have different statuses. So maybe our map over the to-dos here is not working. All right, let's bring this up. Yeah, it's got an array of 1 that just has this status, or the to-do item in it. Let's do a hard refresh and see if that helps. No? Okay. Interesting. So we are spitting out a bunch of to-do items, which is great, but they don't have the right status. Let's go to DevTools and check the status variable on each one of these things. Let's see, items. We're not sure which, let's see. We can filter by jessmartin.dxos tasks. Oh, these don't appear to have any status. Interesting. So these were all created. Wow, this is very interesting. Okay, so then we go over here to yellow lactose, this one. There's a status item. Doing, done, or doing, to do, and done. Interesting. So the status is empty if it's created in the to-do items or the to-do app and then never gets updated. Okay. Interesting. So what we may need to do, this is that whole schema migration thing, right? We don't want to explicitly require that the to-do app, the to-do app knows about things that are specific to the Kanban app, but that does mean that we need to like make sure to initialize them in the Kanban app. Something we need to start doing right away that's like making it difficult to debug is we need to know which space we're in. So I'm going to add another div here at the top. And I'm going to wrap the whole thing in a div because, let's be honest, React loves divs. Space, so there we got our space, and I think it's space dot what? Key? It is space key. So if space, then space key, or maybe I'll do like double, wait, ampersand, ampersand. Nope. What? Type string public key is not assignable. I'm not asking you to assign anything here, Bo. If the space exists, I'm just trying to gate this here on only show the key if the space is defined, or if we have a space. Come on. Public key is not assignable. Oh, okay. I thought key was something different. So if it's not key, internal, that gives me access to the objects. What I really want is maybe data, space key. That's what I'm looking for. No, that is, I think it's available at the top level as well, and I think it's the same thing. Basically saying I can't turn that into a string. String. Okay, so there's the key, but that's actually not what I want. I want the space, this guy. What is this called? And it's more or less the name. Maybe there's like a short, let's see, DXOS, docs.dxos.org, oops, API, space, not space stats, info maybe has it, properties, well, it has a name. Subscription, query options, interfaces, here we go, space, okay. Properties, have listen and post message, so that's not it. Yeah, what I want is the name. So let's see, dot, It looked like that might be under internal data state. No. There was like some info thing. Objects. I don't want to access the objects on the data. I mean, I could use these IDs. I guess those are okay. Not too hard to compare. Metrics, maybe? Data pipeline open, ready. Maybe it is actually space key. Let's see. Nope. Or that is the same thing. All right, so it's 04D90. Yeah, it's Neptune, Montana that we're looking at. And Neptune, Montana doesn't have any that have a... Okay, so then what we want to do here is bring up to DXOS kanban, but I bet it's not going to bring up... Well, let's see what space it brings up. Oh, okay, cool. Something to do. Let's refresh this. Something doing, and then something done. I'm not actually sure how it knew to create. There we go. Interesting. So now we have 4 states, but they all say, oh, yes, I know what's going on here. This is what's going on here. So we want this to be title. I bet undefined is one of them. That's my bet. And we'll do const title equals props.title. Nope, that wasn't what I was trying to do. It's right here. There we go. To do, doing, done, and undefined. Okay, there we go. So I guess set can have items that have no, can have like empty string items. So we'll want to remove the empty string as well. Except interestingly, oh man, this is going to get confusing. Geez. Okay, so the empty string items do have, they're basically, if they're completed, they're in done. If they're not completed, they're in to do. And so we need to set their status. Wow, okay. Interesting. But now we can see what space we're in. We just can't select the spaces yet. We're gonna add that at some point soonish. But here are all the, well, let's get the cards working now. We're really close to having that working, so we can actually see them as opposed to card. Oops, I don't know why I did that. And then the card props are what? Oh, this is what we were fiddling with about props. No, not fix using Copilot. Add the import. Yo. Import card. There we go. And the props are the task is that, and we want to pass it all the way through, then task to do. Whoop. All right, let's keep going for a few more minutes here and then see how far we can get. We're going to need to import to do here. Oh, it's already imported. Sweet. What's it complaining about here? I'm sure I defined these props wrong. Oh, right, it's an export type. All right. Sweet. So now we have to-do props that are getting passed in appropriately. And now we have this card that's not going to render because things are crazy here. Let's remove that. All right. And what is this? Remove the on click. The key is task.id. So then we're going to say const task equals props.task. Let's remove the editing task piece for now and just spit out the title. All right, there's a lot of fidgeting. Hopefully we actually have task titles now. Oh yeah, probably gonna need to wrap that in the thing here. Sweet, okay. So now we have to-dos. They're not renameable or draggable yet. This has just been a giant refactoring. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We do need to figure out a few things, but ultimately the code is looking a lot smaller, which is nice. All right, so I'm going to take a quick Pomodoro break, 5 more minutes Pomodoro breakage, and then we will come back for our last Pomodoro. See you guys in a few. Hey folks, welcome back to Coding with Jess. We're now on our final Pomodoro of the day, Pomodoro 4 of 4, which means we've been at this for an hour and a half, actually a little bit more than an hour and a half. And we're going to do one more Pomodoro working on this DXOS Kanban app, where we are building this interoperable to-do app and kind of reconciling this world where we have apps that write to data stores that have different schemas, and yeah, it's kind of a wild world. So we'll see what happens. Jump in here right now. All right, let's see, desktop, start a tomato, 25 more minutes on the clock. I'm actually only going to work for maybe 12 minutes this time, 15 minutes. I have another thing I need to run to, so we'll wrap this one up a little more briefly than we would have. Okay. Let's go ahead and delete the Kanban file. We don't need that anymore. We've now, well, actually, I'm going to leave it around for a second because we're going to try and get these remaining items working before and get everything kind of back to normal before we move on. All right, so the statuses, we were just noting that these items are now sorted into lists based on the status for each one of them. And the problem with this is that we have a separate separate app that also can create to-dos, and this app doesn't know anything about status. And so it can set things to done. Interesting. So yeah, it can, when I'm toggling this, what I'm doing is I'm toggling a completed flag on the item, but I'm not toggling the actual status. And so adding an item over here does work. Well, actually, I need to wire that up. Adding an item over here works. But notice it adds it to this column right here, which is the column that has no status defined. And so we need to do a couple of things. Let's make a note here around what we're going to do. So we decided that refactoring was the right thing to do to get ready for drag and drop in the Kanban. And in the refactor, we dynamically show lists based on the status field of the to-do items. Which actually leads to a really interesting question. How would you add a new column without an item in it? How would you add a new column without an item? Yeah, and then also similarly, when a column becomes empty, it will disappear. These are both problems with our dynamic list refactor here, or not our dynamic list refactor. This is actually a problem with the data model to begin with, in that we have the schema for our, oops, don't want to look at the TypeScript one, although the TypeScript is handy. This one is simpler. So we have a to-do schema, but we don't have a status schema. All right. Sorry, a to-do list schema. So we're going to need to add a to-do list as a concept so that you can add arbitrary status, arbitrary new boards. But I'll make a note down here. That's what we're going to have to do. Add a to-do list type that gets persisted when a list is created. But we don't need to do that right now. The bigger problem that we need to solve is to-do items created with the to-do app don't have a status. So we need to initialize the status field when we first load it in the Kanban app. Interesting. Okay, so then I think we'll do this in the use effect when we're loading them at the board level. Is that where we're loading them? Yeah, here we are. So we can get rid of that. We don't need these temporary arrays anymore. We are getting our lists dynamically. We already have the note that these are not ordered consistently. We don't need to handle new to do at this level. We'll handle it down inside here. So our boards become really simple. But what we're going to need to do is when a, actually we can just copy this. Initialize the status of a do when we first load it. So what we'll want to do is if there are to-dos for each, if it does not have a status, then set the status to the do, and that's it, because we don't need to do a space update. That should do it. Great. And that, boom, that took care of it. Okay, so basically what we're saying is, okay, but what happens if a to-do item comes in that is completed and has no status? So then I think what we want to do here, and we might have already screwed ourselves by getting into a state that doesn't work well here. But if to-do is completed, then set the to-do status to done. Actually, let's do some, so we can do an else here. Else if to-do is not completed. I mean, I can just have an else. Then set the status to to-do. Unfortunately, these have already been initialized. So we'll actually need to go over here, refresh, and interesting. So then when things get marked as, so we're gonna have to do the, accounting around the completed flag. So man, this is so weird, right? This is where the multiple schemas thing really does bite you, in that we want the kanban to work on status, the status field. We want the task list app to work on the completed field, or else the task list app will have to know more than it needs to know. So we have basically two options here. We could update the task list app to say, if status is done, that is what means that something is completed, and abandon this completed Boolean, and then basically say in the task list app, no matter what the status is, if it's not done, then it's not completed. But here's the problem. People will be able to change the names of these columns, and these columns, so then you have this like dependency between the name of the column in a Kanban app and the completed flag in a task app. I think this is really where the idea of lenses starts to shine. Like, we're really having to map back and forth between these two different models. Yeah, two issue tracker formats. Man. Well, we're in a suboptimal place. We're in a place where we have to choose between leaking context into the Kanban app or leaking context into the tasks app. So I'm going to err on the side of, I think if we leak the context into the Kanban app about this completed flag, yep, I think they're both bad options, is basically the truth of it. And so let's just do it in the Kanban app, because that is where we already are. And then we'll figure it out. So then what we'll want to do here is get everything that is completed but not already in the done column, and then assign it to the done column. So to-dos for each to-do. If the to-do status is completed and if the to status is not done and the to-do is completed, sorry, this should be that. If to-do status is not equal done and to-do is completed, then put it in the done column. So that should have immediately moved some things. Wow, okay. Where's our app here? There we go. Run on for a long time. Run on, ducking and diving. Okay, I think I maybe in our to-do list over here, like unchecked everything. Nice, okay, great. So now we actually have things sliding over to done. Ha! To do, done, doing. Oh gosh. So the ordering of our lists also needs to be encoded. So this is another thing that we're going to have to move to a to-do list item that we, or to-do list object that we store in Echo in order to maintain the indices, like the ordering of the to-do lists. So right now they're in a backwards order, but hey, you can at least like do a thing and it comes in and it goes to the right spot. And there's the problem right there. If you have a doing, and we will never have the doing list again until we add arbitrary list creation. We marked it to a doing item done, and it went into the done column. Actually, it's not. Is it broken now? What's going on now? It says list is not rendering things uniquely. Oh, I took the key off. Silly me. So that would be on here, I think. Key equals to do. Okay, it's going to be in card. It's right there. Key is equal to task ID. What the heck? So you like need it at the list level? I don't understand. Oh, the lists themselves need? Yes. Yes, and this is another problem. Key equals status. Or title. All right, refresh. That error should go away. Sorry, I hadn't. No, it still doesn't like that. Each child in a list should have a unique key prop. I don't know, man. I don't know about that one. Yeah, we've got problems here. Okay, well. Do we do it like this? Key equals index? Yep, looks like that did it. And so then here, key equals list. All right, let's refresh. All right, cool. Both of those errors are gone. Now down here, can delete that. Great. So we're in a good spot here. Yeah. Okay. So wow. Okay. Well, let's jump over here. We did this. Initialize the status of a to-do when we first load it. We've solved that problem. we're gonna have to solve this dynamic loading list problem. The other thing we need to do is re-enable to do creation and editing in the kanban. Okay, so we'll have to get to that. Yeah, some really interesting stuff came up today. Learning about schema migrations and the difference in schema between these two sets of these views and these objects in practice leads to some understanding of why schemas can be challenging to manage. And then, yeah, ran into things around spaces not being inconsistently ordered and some other weird stuff that we can dig into. Yeah, thanks for hanging out on Coding with Jess, where you code along with me while I build a thing. And today, working on the DXOS app was super fun, but definitely some learnings here that I hope to kind of carry over into DXOS apps in the future. So see you next Wednesday for more coding.